Hello to all of you. I'm Lauren Fishman. I'm an assistant professor here. Some of you have never even seen me. I'm going to talk to you. Well, wait, I'm going to get up the slideshow and I'll show you what I'm going to show you. We are going to talk about yoga or isometric contractions and their use in idiopathic adolescent lumbar scoliosis. This all came about because we looked at the spine as a tensegrity structure, borrowing a concept from architecture, in which there's a structure, there are a number of them, that really depend on tension for their integrity. In this little bendy toy you see here, no two solid parts touch each other. And in the human body, this is a drawing from Ellen Saltonstall, they're very much the same way, although the parts touch each other, their movement and the tension between them is developed, as you might expect, from the muscles, which apply a variable amount of tension. In this, they differ from architecture, where the tensions are set up and they're intended to stay that way. The solar system is somewhere in the middle with equations that describe the intensity of the pull, but the invisible tether of gravity holds this structure in place. No bolts, no nails, no glue. Well, if you look at the architecture, though, in the right, you see a Roman arch, and the Romans did not use glue or mortar or anything like that. It's gravity that is pulling down that paradoxically holds the keystone up. Now, on the left here is a radio tower you might see on a rural drive. Same sort of paradox. It is held up by cables pulling down. As long as those cables pull symmetrically, the tower or whatever, the spine will stand straight. Once one side takes an advantage over the other and becomes the predominant one, the tower seems to lean in that direction. It makes sense. And in the spine, it's the same way. The radius of curvature is defined by how much pull there is. And you can see how far apart the vertebrae are here on the convex side, whereas on the concave side, they're brought closer together. And that has led people over the years to say the following. Since the ribs are far apart, they splay out like the spokes of a wheel according to this radius of curvature. And they press the soft tissues, the muscles and the skin out posteriorly, and then they migrate back into the space created by their separation. And so people say, well, look, it's big, it's hard, it's got to be the strong side, right? Nothing could be further from the truth. What's going on here is that the muscles on the convex side are being stretched. The muscles on the concave side are being pulled together. This is really the hollow side, the compressed and contracted and collapsed side. Like the strings of a bow, which attach to its extremities and increase the curvature. This is what's going on here. And this is big, but the weak side. So what we use is a single pose, the side plank, and using the muscles of the weak side. This woman has her convex side down. So she's strengthening this side, strengthening the muscles over here, and allowing the tower to come up closer to vertical. We feel the psoas muscle is probably key here because it's so powerful and it attaches exactly to the lumbar vertebrae, to the sides of the anterior parts of the vertebral body, and to the convex, transverse processes, which make the convexity and also pull the vertebrae forward on the side to which they're pulling, and which makes the vertebrae revolve backward on the opposite side, which is what, of course, we always see. So here's a young girl. She didn't get any botulinum toxin. She just had the yoga. She went from a 19-degree curve in June to a 3-degree curve in November. So 5 months and 15 degrees, not so bad. Here's the first study we did, again, not using botulinum toxin yet. Most people really got better, some as much as 30 degrees, some significantly less, and a couple actually got worse. But here's the average, about 12 degrees better in a little under 7 months. So that's when we got the bright idea of using zeomin, using a botulinum preparation to temporarily weaken the muscles on the strong side, while at the same time the yoga is strengthening the muscles on the weak side. And the way the botulinum toxin works is that it interferes with VAMP, vesicular active membrane protein, which is the only way the acetylcholine ever gets out of a cell and on its way to traverse the synaptic cleft and actually stimulate muscles to contract. It stops that, so the muscles don't contract. Does it paralyze them completely? I've never seen that, but it does weaken them substantially. That's what happens. Lasts about 6-8 weeks. So we set up a study in which we excluded people who were pregnant or who had some botulinum before. This is botulinum toxin type A. It's botulinum toxin. These people got no botulinum toxin. Some got a placebo yoga pose that used both sides equally, and being symmetrical had no effect on their scoliosis. Others got the real yoga pose, but they got a sham injection. These people got both the real injection and the real side plank. We got x-rays when they started, at 3 weeks, and at 3 months. Then we compared all these people that didn't get the botulinum with the people that did. Here's what we had. We injected 33 units of incobotulinum toxin A, first in the paraspinal muscles opposite the apex of the curve, then in the quadratus lumborum, a little lower down, maybe L3. L3 is what we aimed for. And then the psoas muscle at L4, where all the little slips that come from the vertebral bodies and the transverse processes unify into that powerful muscle. We use the smallest dose of botulinum toxin that is likely to be effective in order to, it's just the first time it's been done, so we don't want to go too far. And you can see that the people who got the botulinum toxin group 3 did significantly better than anybody else. Here, let me show it to you this way. Group 1, who got nothing, had no significance between the first and second time we examined them, or the first and the third time they got their x-rays. Group 1 versus group 3, the ones who got nothing versus those that got everything, it was really quite significant. Group 1 versus group 2, the ones who got yoga only, with the ones that got yoga and botulinum toxin. In fact, the difference between the first time they were seen and 3 months later was highly significant. And when we compared the combination of groups 1 and 2, just to get more people, versus group 3, where we had the people getting the botulinum toxin, they were all three quite, spectacularly significant. So what happened with botulinum and yoga is that they got about 1/3 better in 3 months. That's the average, some a little less, some significantly more. Looking at them, some interesting things occur. Some didn't get better with the botulinum toxin at all, and some didn't get any better with the yoga. But most got progressively better with the botulinum toxin. That was their greatest increase, and somewhat better after that with the yoga. Interesting is that the people who were the most involved with the worst curves up to 58, 62, and 70 degrees are the ones that did the best. These little green beards down here show you who got how much better. And you can see these three did much better, which suggests that by weakening muscles on the strong side, you are actually getting to one of the causes of adolescent lumbar scoliosis. Otherwise, it would be a constant improvement. You wouldn't see a greater improvement with a greater deficit to start with. So why do we see this? Why is this after they get better the first time with the botulinum toxin wears off and they still get better? Yet, what's happening? Well, here we are, 2023, and we don't really know how muscles contract, this thing that allows for all human and other animal movement. We really don't understand it completely, but the dominant theory is the sliding filament theory. There's the actin and the myosin, and the actin gets moved by the myosin. The myosin is sort of like the jack on your car, and here it goes clicking forward. It attaches, then it pushes the actin forward right here. Then it gets ready, the ATP gets it ready again, and the ATP turns into ADP, and the calcium bond is used, and sure enough, it goes forward again, and it keeps doing that. That may be a key to what's going on, why there's continued improvement. Muscles are strongest at their resting length. We get this out of sports medicine, and it seems to be something, seems to really be true. So here we are. Before the botulinum toxin, the actin and the myosin only overlap to a certain extent. And after the botulinum toxin, the muscles on the convex side get a little shorter, get closer to their resting length, because the strong side has relented somewhat. Now that's so if you consider this to be one jack on your car, here we have about 5 jacks on the same car, without any strengthening due to yoga or anything else. It's just the botulinum lets the muscles come together and oppose the stronger side more effectively. So really, in this little experiment, we have 3 things going on. There's less vigorous contraction, the muscles on the concave side, because we're using the botulinum. The contralateral muscles are getting stronger because of the yoga, and also the contralateral muscles are approaching their resting length and getting stronger still. So I leave you with this, and I say to you, I invite you. First, are we using the best dosage of botulinum toxin? Probably not. You know, there's probably a dose-effect relationship, and the more we use, the better people will get. And secondly, are we strengthening the best muscles for the job? We think the psoas is really very important here, but we may be wrong. There are 15 muscles on each side of the spine in the lumbar region, and they're all candidates. And so I invite you to look, use your EMG as we have done here. All these injections were EMG guided. And also, I invite you to send people to our study. We are still looking for patients for the study. The average person gets 10 to 12 degrees better in 3 weeks, and better, further better, more better thereafter. It's utterly innocuous, no side effects. We test them before, and we take all their vital signs, and we take them 15 minutes afterwards. And none of them have shown the slightest signs of anything wrong at all so far. In fact, their heart rates are usually faster when they start because they're a little nervous. So thank you very much. And now questions?